Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Genuine Chit-Chat. Before the episode starts, just like to say this is my friend TJ Cummings. I've known her for about 6 years. She's been travelling quite a lot, so we just get into that. We talk about society and culture, that sort of thing. It's a really cool chat. I think we ended up chatting for about 2.5 hours. So I've split this one into two. So I think about an hour 15-minute mark. I come in, it will stop, and I'll come in at the end. And then that'll be the end of the episode. Then I think in about a week's time, I'm going to release the second episode. That'll be about the similar sort of length. I've got a lot of cool other podcasts done. I've recorded one with my mate Alex about him going to America and a bit of his travels and his forest schools. And just the outdoors and that sort of thing, and a great story of how he met his girlfriend, how they made it work long term. Oh Christ, so it's really cool. The next one going to be out after this is going to be part 2 of this, and then after that, I imagine it'll be the one with Alex. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hi guys, this is Mike Burton with Genuine Chit Chat, episode 2, having honest conversations with interesting people. And today's interesting person is my friend TJ.
Yo.
So TJ's been travelling quite a lot throughout Europe and Asia. I've only myself travelled around a bit of Europe, and I just thought she's going off again soon to, I think, travel around Asia again for a while. So I thought we'd get her in, have a chat with her, and then when she's gone on her other trip, when she comes back from that, tell us a bit about that, some of the culture and just some of the cool places she's been to and people she's met. So, TJ, why don't we start off with, let's do early on, let's say when you were younger. Did you go travelling much with like your parents or anything like that?
Not so much, actually. My first real trip away, that wasn't Wales with my family was when I was 13. I had the opportunity to go to Paris with the school, and I was like, why
I've
not?
done that sort of thing.
Exactly, go away for a week, see what it's like, and just the entire time I was away, I was like, this is incredible, like not just being somewhere else, but actually meeting new people and experiencing the kind of vibe. So and I went on a couple of other trips, like with friends and such, over the next few years, which I mostly organised myself.
Were they mainly in Europe, or were they further away?
They were all in Europe until this year. Actually, I'd never been outside of Europe until this year, but I've been pretty much everywhere. Like I've been pretty much everywhere in Italy, like every town there is to visit.
I've been to south of Italy quite a lot, but I haven't made my way up to north. I apparently used to have a house down in South Italy that I used to go to, and it was lovely there, but no one there spoke English at all. There's one McDonald's for I think 100 miles, something ridiculous. Like that's how it is. Like this was about, let me think, I was about 13 or 14 when they got it, so it was about 10 years ago. And there was just one McDonald's, and I was quite a fussy eater then as well. Every year I went, I was less and less fussy, but it was mainly pizzas I was eating, and my parents were like, you can't have pizza every night, and they tried to find other places that weren't Italian because I didn't like pasta at the time, and it's just they're all Italian restaurants, just everywhere apart from the old one that's like Italian American a little bit where they do like burgers, but this place had burgers and a pita bread. So I was just like me, it was either, I was a really fat kid as well, so this fat kid on holiday would only eat pizza and burgers and McDonald's, so it was just an ice cream. It was just not helping.
There is a secret I need to tell you about Italy. Okay. It is in fact full of Italian restaurants, so you kind of backed yourself into a corner with that. What did you expect when you went to Italy?
With other places in Europe that I've been to, because my parents, mainly my mum, like to go to more commercial areas, so she could buy designer shoes, handbags, go to like restaurants, not ones that are franchised that we know of, but Tenerife is a prime example in the Canary Islands, where you go there and it's basically just England, but with a Spanish sort of hue to it almost, and the weather's lush, and it's really cool beaches and stuff, but like a lot of the shops, they're called different names, but they're very similar. Like they've got the shopping malls that are really similar to ones over here. They've got zoos over there. They've got aquariums. They've got cinemas a lot, and they've got McDonald's. And you go to Tenerife, and I do really like going to Tenerife. It's a perfect chill out holiday because you've got all your home comforts and everything's amazing there. Everything's like sunny and not too expensive and stuff. But from me being that kid and my parents liking that so much, when they went down to the south of Italy, it was very, very isolated. Like a lot of the places weren't built up at all. Like, there's just miles and miles just houses and no real big structures.
Yeah.
So that's right down near the heel of the shape of the boot, I think it is.
Yeah.
Right down there. But yes, you've been around Italy a lot. What sort of other? Where have you been around? Is it just like generally everywhere in Europe, or is it Because there's like Norway and Finland, places like that.
Nah, see, this is the issue, because I really want to go to the Czech Republic soon. And hit Prague, just because the
Jasmine and Reese are going to Prague. Reese on the last episode, by the way. Otherwise, my housemate as well. He's off to Prague.
I saw,
yeah, I think for a few days or something. They showed me some of the stuff over there. It looks like a very beautiful city.
Yeah, because it is incredible. Like, the architecture as well is just absolutely stunning, and it's really interesting city in terms of its history as well. But yeah, so I definitely want to hit Prague. Probably go up to the Netherlands and go to Amsterdam.
Everyone's got to go to
everybody
goes
to
Europe. It's just let's just swing by Amsterdam. Let's have a cheeky coffee.
I've never been. I've never been to Amsterdam. No, that's why I want to go this year. But I feel like I'm going to go by myself so that I can just meet up with random people in hostels.
Everyone there speaks English, and also there's a lot of, because it's quite because I went there last year, and obviously apart from the local delicacy, the local green delicacy, apart from obviously that, when everyone goes over there and smokes that and eats space cake and whatnot, if you take that out of the picture, it's still amazing there. Like, there's a canal ride I went on. You can hear all the history and stuff of them, like them having really narrow but tall homes, and there's the Anne Frank house, which I missed, unfortunately. But I went to the Amsterdam dungeon, so like the London dungeon, but in Amsterdam. That's really cool. There's some gardens there that we missed. There's the sex museum that everyone goes to. That's cool. There's a place there actually which you need to go to, which I didn't go to when I was there, and I regret it. It's called like the Human Body Museum or something.
Okay.
And they have real human bodies, corpses and bones and stuff, doing stuff. It's really weird. They've got one which is just I can't remember. It's two people having sex, I believe, but it's cut in half and it's actual. It's like real. So there's in these, I don't know how they keep the corpses from like disintegrating, or if they do anything special to them, but it's like cut in half, so you can see everything from the side and that sort of thing. And it's got like people there without any skin, so you can just see all the muscles. And it's got them doing, I can't remember all the specifics because I only looked at it briefly after I'd come home from it. But it looks amazing, like real bones and stuff there.
That does sound really fucking cool.
We walked past that actually. It was really close to the station as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like that's the kind of stuff that interests me about a city. Just like little quirky shit like that. Like one thing I do really want to see when I go to Amsterdam is I want to go to the Van Gogh Museum.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we didn't go to that, unfortunately.
He's my favorite artist, and it's been such a pressure dream in my mind now. What? Sorry.
Van Gogh to Amsterdam.
Aha.
Hey.
Yes, very well done.
There it is. Yeah, well, it's like there's like I've been to what's that place in Barcelona at the rooftops with all the cool it's some sort of famous artist. It's not Dali, it's someone else. I can't know who it is, but I've been there. That was really cool because my dad was quite into art and that sort of thing, but he was also into history a lot. So I love going to places and finding out history about it and just like the culture of it. Like one little thing in Amsterdam was just they've got hooks at the top of all the houses. They've got bars coming with hooks on it, and it's because everything big they had to like open or take off the windows and lift things in through like ropes, because the houses are so narrow but tall that the stairways you just can't put anything big there. So almost all the houses have got those things, but they've all got one like big window out at the top front.
Oh my god!
So it's just really at Canal Ride they just said that, and I was like, that's amazing. I went to the zoo. They have a really sick zoo. Like certain people aren't really into zoos because of the like I'm coming in the grey area of it's certain animals kind of need to be in a zoo to be kind of kept for conservation reasons, but other ones like certain lions and tigers can just look miserable because it's not enough space. But if I kind of put that aside and just it's kind of there and I went and enjoyed it, it's like everything's quite together and close, but it's not crammed. It's just like Marwell is really long distance everything, whereas with Amsterdam there's less space between exhibits. But they've got loads there. That's really cool as well. It's just what you want to see. Depends on who you're there for.
My house is quite similar to that in terms of it just being long and thin, but like we have a fridge. Basically, that my housemates before I moved in, they had like a little mini fridge upstairs in the kitchen, but then they bought a much bigger one because obviously it's like 3-4 people in the house. You kind of need a bigger fridge, and they bought it, and the guys who were moving it in just couldn't fit it up the fucking stairs. They just couldn't do it. So they just threw it in the downstairs room, which is now affectionately referred to as the man cave because it just stinks and has like a really battered sofa in it and a fridge and that's it. Oh, and a trolley. It's got a trolley in it from when we went out drinking one night and just stole a trolley and brought it home.
You delinquents.
Well,
I've stolen traffic.
No, it was because Lev's boxing fucking bag was like ridiculously heavy and he had all his gear with him, so we saw a trolley and we were like fucked. So we were like, yeah, okay, let's just use that.
Haven't taken it back yet. You will one day. I trust that. I've stolen a traffic cone once when I was out hammered once, and the reason was because I was about I think I was 19 or maybe I was 20, which was quite bad. But there are absolutely loads of them, like in this little enclave bit off a road somewhere. And we just took one, and I hope I don't get arrested for this. Ooh, no. Yeah, I took one. We were drunk because we'd never done anything crazy when we were drunk before. So it's like a midlife crisis of drinking. Which is not that crazy. We ran across train tracks like 3 a.m, but that's not cool and crazy. That's just stupid.
But this is the thing with semi illegal stuff, like stealing trolleys. Like, we didn't steal it from the actual supermarket. We just found it and we were like, oh,
I didn't steal it from. Now. There wasn't. I want to clarify. It wasn't like a yard or something. There was like a bunch, like 10 or so, had just been off a main road, not in the bushes, but like to the side of the road, not really covering anything.
Man, trolleys, traffic cones, and road signs. It's a rite of passage. You got to steal one before
I'd love
you
to
turn
have a traffic
21.
light, like have an edgy man cave with one of those traffic lights just always going. Do you know what I mean? I've seen it in a film somewhere. I can't remember what it is. There's just loads of people, and it's like kind of everyone's smoking in there, and everyone's drinking, and it's just got like almost TGI Fridays sort of stuff all over the wall where there's just no wall.
I know what film that is. It's every 90s grunge movie ever. So.
Yeah, it's funny when you said that. I got a flash of what it actually was, and now it's gone again. So
no, great.
It gave me hope. But, so you've been around Europe quite a lot. Do you have a favourite in Europe?
It really depends. Because the whole of Europe is a big fucking place.
It's also very different.
Exactly.
It's got a similar theme, like core, not quite kind of also values and the kind of core like theme to most of it, and then it's just the expansion of that. Like all the people and all the stuff is like similar vein of people, but like everything's done like a different theme, different way.
It has a well integrated
continent
society, but it has separate cultures.
Yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
is that any big place like America? America's a very good example.
America's a very good example. Slightly just a melting pot. I think America's a bit different just because where all of the cultures have like they've merged. So like each state has its own shit going on, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are like things that everybody across America just shares because everybody lives like in close community to everybody else.
It's also tribal. It's like it depends kind of at what point of day, at what part of the tribe you're going to be. You know, it's like today, am I going to be a British person as the tribe? Am I going to be, unfortunately, some people are like white person tribe. You know, there's then you go down to like, oh, I'm from the south of England, so the southern tribe, and then it's like Southampton. I don't like Portsmouth or any of these other places, and then it's like
fuck Pompey.
Then it's like more local, and then it's like Woolston or Bitton, and it's just like it goes. You know, some people really tribal a lot of things, like football teams. They often do it, and they just really hate another city because they have another team.
That's what I'm saying, man. Fuck Pompey.
Well, I'm just saying I know you're joking and stuff. But it's just like the way I look at it is you can have some sort of like a bit of rivalry. You know, a bit of when kind of I'm trying to think of the word to describe it when I've completely lost. I'm doing terribly. It's just you know when people have got this camaraderie sort of thing. If you have like a rivalry, but it's like camaraderie, it's kind of like banter almost.
Yeah.
Where that's fine. I really like that. And if you sometimes when you're playing video games or playing a board game or something, you just swear at them, you call them a cunt or something like that, and it's like that's all fine. But it's when people get actually violent, I just can't stand it. It's just like. If with two football teams especially, it's like if they didn't exist and no one else existed, there wouldn't be a game. Your team would just be the only team, and what would they do? Just go out to the pitch and just stare at you for like an hour and a half, and you pay like £100 to get in and things like that. And it's just like
it's fine when it's endearing, but the moment it becomes like that, it's like this is a problem.
I'm one of those people. Just violence is only acceptable in an unfathomably minuscule amount of situations. Only when only like a worse thing would happen if you didn't do that sort of thing. You know, if someone's like, unfortunately to say something like this, but if someone's going to rape you, obviously violence to stop them is completely fine.
Maybe this is the time to leave the podcast.
There you go. That's it.
Just run
done.
far away.
But you know what I mean? Like those sorts of, or like if someone is going to attack you and you've got no way out of unless you use force back to them. You know, the thing is that there's a difference between self-defense and hitting them and then them going down, or then you hold them down, or you just leave, and then there's beating someone to a bloody pulp and stuff. It's just like it's all. I was talking about this in the last podcast, but it's just all that sort of thing. I'm just really not a violent person.
I mean, I'm not either. Like there've been a couple of incidents but they were always. They weren't me being physically violent like on purpose. There was a time when I was younger and I got into a fight with a friend who had anger management issues, and we got into a scrap, and we were quite young at this time, like maybe 10 or 11, and we were wrestling like outside in the playground. We had like a big group of people outside surrounding us, just going, fight, that kind of thing. But we were throwing punches, and he he must have hit me pretty hard in the jaw, because we were friends as well. We were just like friends having a scrap, and like that, like I just sort of went, oh, okay, and the fight sort of switched and started becoming a lot more like heated, and I like slammed him backwards into a wall, and it like cracked his head open on this wall, and he had to go to hospital,
Jesus
and he had like
Christ.
13 stitches, like, and then a couple more like deep layer stitches, and I was like, yeah, sorry about that, buddy. But like, apart from
that,
piss
you off then. You
Yeah.
slam head against the wall. There's a couple of random nails that are sticking out, so don't get me on one of them.
Oh
Christ.
no, the nails are no fun, man. I just
No
it's
fun.
blunt trauma. That's
the way to
where
go.
I'm at,
You're
yeah.
more of a baseball bat.
Exactly.
Sort of old school.
Nah, I don't know. I mean, like, there's stuff like that in my past, but then there's also things like there was this chick I went to school with, Mia, and she was really, really paranoid that I was fucking her boyfriend Tyler behind her back, despite the fact
This is so cliche.
Yeah,
this is
but
so cliche.
in her defense, Tyler and I had dated in the past. But it was 2 years previously to this, and I hadn't spoken to him in that 2 years, you know.
Yeah.
So she was just really paranoid for some reason, and she was like following me home from school and like harassing me. And then one day she tried to fight me, and I was just sort of stood there like, no. And she tried to grab my hair and like slam my face into her knee, and I just sort of like pulled up again and like took her hand off, like, can you not? And she was like, oh, and then sort of pulled back her fist to throw a punch, and I think some woman like drove up in her car and stopped. She was like, I'm gonna call the police. And Mia was like, oh shit, and her and a little group of miscreants ran away.
I was gonna say ne'er-do-wells.
There was hooligans again. Yeah, so there was that, and like I just don't get into fights. Like, it's always, every single time that there's been some sort of like predicament in which I've had to use violence against somebody else, it's always been them, like, they just get too into trying to fight me, and I'm like, oh, this isn't gonna happen, can you stop, please? Like, yeah, I don't actively try and hurt people.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to not have been any violent confrontations, you know. It's just, I punched Reese once, that's about it. It was in the chest, it was in like, yeah.
And it's your most dearest and treasured memory, I think.
One of them with Reese, it was a pretty good moment, you know. Knocked him down a peg, which he kind of needed at the time, but then I needed to get knocked down about 20 pegs when I was, 13.
True. This is, yeah. I mean, when you first brought me around here, I wasn't sure if your head was going to fit through the door, or
because of the afro.
Yeah, no. I mean, your ego. Yeah. Okay.
Well, the afro's pretty big as well, but
your afro's tiny now. I miss your old afro.
Yeah, I don't. Well, this isn't even an afro.
This is a Jufro.
It was a Jufro, and then when it got really big, it was pretty much an afro, and then I cut it short for a while. It still was a Jufro, and then now it's just the top's curly, but it's short back in size, that sort of thing. It's just like I grew my hair really long that time, didn't I? I grew it just down and long, and then I shaved it, for charity and whatnot. And then when it grew back there, I just didn't want to grow it long again, because where it's short, it is so much easier, because you've obviously got short hair. I think when we first met, you had long hair. I
didn't really have long hair.
Whatever,
it was like shoulder length.
Yeah, but that's
longer. Male, I usually have it.
Generally, if you said males with shoulder length hair, that would be considered long. So with me, when I got past that sort of thing, it's got long hair. So I don't know.
There was Reese.
Well, yeah, then Reese down past his nipples. But mine, before I shaved mine off, mine was like past my nipples.
Yeah.
It was just curly at the end, so it kind of kept up a little bit more. But obviously, when you get short hair, that's one of the main things I think people realise. When you become an adult, you don't have long hair quite as often. Primarily at the moment, really men. Obviously, a lot of women have been doing it a lot more recently, because obviously, fortunately, it's 2017 and not like 1950, so women can do what the hell they want now, generally. But it's
Did you say unfortunately?
No, fortunately.
Oh, okay. I was like, Jesus.
Oh, Christ, no, just bring you on here and just like slating you really subtly, just
fucking women, Jesus.
The matriarchy.
Giving them rights and shit. What
they
is
shouldn't be able to vote. What is this? Have their haircut. They should always have
I miss the 19 O's, Jesus.
19 Ozos.
Ozos, yeah.
19 Ozos. That sounds like some sort of weird, like, old school cereal.
No, Ouzo is a Japanese. Well, no, Ouzo is a Greek liquor.
Oh yeah, I think I've actually had that before.
I say liquor. It's a spirit. It's a heavy spirit.
Is it white? Is it clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah, I think I've had that before.
It's horrible, but it's also really good because it gets fucked up.
Yeah, it's like absinthe, isn't it? You have some of that.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh my god.
You have like one shot of it, and it's fine the taste, but once it goes down your throat, you just feel like a trail. It's like Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Like when Ghost Rider zooms off, and there's that trail of fire behind it. That's what's like down your throat, and it's in your stomach, and it's just there for hours.
It's horrible. We had whilst I was in.
Just do loads of absinthe.
whilst I was in Italy a couple of years ago, we found in one of the supermarkets 90% vodka.
Jesus Christ!
Or just
absinthe
on the
I've had
shelf.
is 79%. That's the most
Like,
I've had. No,
yeah,
85 I've had.
But this is in a supermarket, not even like behind the counter. This is on the bottom shelf in one of the aisles.
Just that the culture's different, isn't it?
Exactly, but we bought it and we went back to the villa.
You're the ones that ruined it for the rest of us.
We went back to the villa and we did the most British thing we could have possibly done with that
Tea.
bottle. No, we played Ring of Fire.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, we used to play Ring of Fire when I used to have those parties, because I'm lame like this, I was like, let's all have fun, but let's be careful. So I printed off the Ring of Fire rules and put it in a clear plastic wallet, so no one, so if you spill beer on it,
I
or
feel like I
booze-
remember this.
Yeah, I've got it still. I've actually got it
Have
somewhere.
you still? Oh my god.
Yeah, the Ring of Fire. I think it's up with all my other booze.
Line up, ladies. We've got the most organised man in Southampton here.
That's it. That's my charm. Is like, if a woman finds organisation sexy, then let me show you. The alphabetized T-shirt collection of mine.
What you guys can't see from here as well is his DVD collection, which
And Blu-rays.
he pulls out certain DVDs that like he's watched, so that when he goes back to look at them later, or like he wants to watch, and it's just bless him.
Hey, when you're like with someone and they don't care what you watch, or you're with like, if I'm with one of my mates who doesn't really care what sort of film we watch, if it's like horror or comedy, whatever, I can just turn around and look, and because it's not like I've got like 20 DVDs or something. Like, I've got over 350 movies. I think I might have over 400 now, and I've got like over 100 seasons of things. So it's just like, there's so many there, and also part of it's covered by the sofa a little bit, which doesn't help. That's because I can't have everything I want. I'd love to have just shelves with all of it there, but the guys won't let me do it. One day, the dream.
I've just noticed on your lamp, indoor use only. Little sticker, indoor use only. What moron is taking lamps with like live wires and shit outside?
The funny thing is with that lamp as well is that lampshade that came with it's a cylindrical shape, so there's nothing on the top and nothing on the bottom for obviously people who no one can see this. It's a circle around it basically, so it's like rain would just go straight onto the bulb, and everything is literally like open.
Exactly. Like, I feel like you don't need a sticker, although there are some real morons
You have
out
to
there.
have, because of people, just to make sure that people don't do something stupid and go, well, they didn't tell me not to do that. It's like when you have peanuts, it says these contain nuts, because some people are so dense they can't fathom it, things like that, or any nut products, things like that. You just like, you can buy smoked salmon. It says allergens, fish. It's like, I know they got to do it out of protocol and stuff, but it's just like, are people really that dense? I think they are. It's probably for suing reasons and stuff, just to be sure someone can't eat the salmon and say, well, it doesn't actually say the word fish on it anywhere, and I could plead, ignorance. Just didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Oh well. So anyway, we were talking about when you were traveling when you were younger and stuff. So that was, how old were you was it just generally like a little bit here and there when you were younger, and then?
Genuinely, my parents and I have always been quite a poor family, so we never really went on family holidays. I went when I was 7 or 8.
So it was a school holiday when you said about the Paris.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was 7 or 8, I went to Wales with my aunt, but apart from that, I genuinely didn't leave the country until I was 13.
Okay, right, yeah, I see.
Apart from Wales.
Yeah.
So when I went to Paris when I was 13, and then about a year or two later, I went to Lille, which is also in France. It's further south.
Yeah.
And then I think I didn't go anywhere until I was like 17.
Yeah.
And I just sort of I was sat around the college table one day, because we had this little one table which was right by the vending machines.
Yeah.
And
everyone's got their little spot in college.
yeah, everybody's got that little spot.
Yeah,
and
you just got to make sure you
ours
urinate there just to mark your territory. And
exactly.
Stuff.
Yeah. So ours was there, and I was sat there, and I was looking on my laptop at places I wanted to try and travel on my gap year.
Yeah.
On my gap year.
Gap year.
On my gap year, yeah. And I found. I think it was like it was a photograph, I think, but it was like of a group of friends that I know from elsewhere, and they'd all recently gone on a group holiday to probably Amsterdam, I think.
I just want to say, I think almost every single person I know has been to Amsterdam. I'd say it's probably about 70% of the people. Most of them don't smoke. When they're here either. That's kind of that's what they think. You see people go over there, and it's just like, whoa, didn't expect that sort of thing. Yeah, sorry.
But so I saw that, and I was like, what would be a great idea, guys? I turned over, I was like, look, we should go on a group holiday. And I had like 3 people go, yeah, let's do it. And then the rest of them were like, yeah, let's do it. But obviously you can see in their eyes they're not actually gonna go.
Yeah.
So in the end, I sort of got everything set up, and I came over to everybody, and I was like, right, so I've organised everything. All you need to do is decide whether or not you're coming. It's going to cost this, this, and this for this. Just transfer me the money and I'll book it for us all.
Yeah.
And like, I think it was myself, Sam Pilch, Sam Course from college, and then Pilch's girlfriend at the time, Dev, and my partner of the time, Chris. But we all went out there first, and Chris met us a few days later.
Yeah.
He flew out separately, but we went out to this little village called Nemi. It's near Rome, like right on the outskirts of Rome.
Yeah.
And we, okay, let me tell you the story of how we fucking got there.
Okay.
So, we fly in from, I think, Gatwick to Venice, right? We get out of Venice, and it's about 1 a.m. We're in Venice, 1 a.m. No, it's 4 a.m. Yeah, it's 4 a.m. in Venice, and we have to get a train from Venice down to Rome. And we're like, okay, how the fuck are we gonna do this? Trying to figure shit out, yeah. So it's between the hours of 1 and 4. We're trying to like sort out shit. 'Cause we've got a train, I think, at 6, and we want to leave a bit early so we can get there on time. But we get into the airport at midnight, 1 a.m. And Dev and Sam decide that Dev and Pilch decide that they want to go and get a hostel and stay, have a few hours sleep, maybe get a shower. So they go and do that. And Course and I go and find a bar of course we did, that was open late, and we sat and had a couple of Coronas, went back to the airport, sat down and had like a really chill talk for a few hours, just me and him. We met up with the guys, went and caught the train. The moment we got to Rome, we were all exhausted because we hadn't really slept. Yeah. So this was already like starting off to be a shitty day because we were exhausted. The heat was intense.
Yeah, down South East, it was madness.
Yeah, middle of
place I've ever been.
Exactly, middle of August. You know, in the middle of big city.
It's a nightmare, isn't it? In the middle of August.
Yeah. So we come out of the train station. We go to one of the taxis and we're like, hey dude, so how much to get us to this address? And he's like, oh, €50. And we're like, nah, we're not about that life. We're not going to spend that much just on a taxi, you know. Yeah. Like we're trying to budget. We're trying to budget travel. So we decide to get a train to the nearest town and then get a bus. Okay. But unfortunately, the train station of the town that's nearest is broken down, so we had to stop at the one before, which was Albano Laziale. Albano Laziale was the one that was stopped, so we stopped off there and we got off and we were like, right, what the fuck do we do now? So we go into the town after various people trying to give us directions, get on a bus, go completely the wrong direction for about half an hour. None of us have any water either, so we're all like getting pretty thirsty. Sam and Dev now need to go to the toilet, and they're getting pretty antsy about that. And we get off the bus, we wander around.
How old were you at this time, sorry? How old were you at this time, all of you?
I was 17, Pilch was 16, Course was 17, and Dev was 17 as well, I believe.
Yeah, so quite young.
Exactly.
I suppose the tiny thing is when I went to Amsterdam with the guys, that was the first group holiday, or the only group holiday I've been on with like my parents or anything like that, and excluding school holidays, obviously, and school trips rather. I think it was about 2 years ago, this coming November, I think, or maybe it was a year and a half ago, March sort of thing. So that was, I was still 21 then, so I'd been living away from home and stuff like that. Like, when you go travelling a lot, when you're that age, it can be only a couple of minor mistakes that you do, or sometimes just bad luck, and you can just go off, and you just kind of, I don't know if you did much, but I would imagine if I was 17 in Italy, going the wrong way, dying of thirst and stuff, of trying to control 3 other people as well, our sort of ages, like teenagers as well, that sort of thing. It can be like really stressful, and everyone can be a bit of a drama queen. I've been that, and it's just like everything's way worse. It seems worse than it is.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I said I was 17. I think I must have been 18 because if Course was 17, that's right. That is right. I was 18 because their parents told me to try and look after the boys. I was like, yeah, sure, I'm a responsible adult, and I wasn't.
We all think that. I realise now I don't think I'll ever be a fully responsible adult. I think I can be 50 and it'll just be like, nah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a way more fun way to live life. I think to just be a big toddler.
Yeah, just do what you want, chill, be responsible when you need to. Like, you've got to be for like bills and rent and being serious, so certain serious situations. But apart from that, it's just like, just chill. Don't take, the thing is, it's one of those things that where, so don't take life too seriously, but equally don't purely make a joke about absolutely everything in life, as in, you have to take certain things to a degree seriously. It's all about balance. That's just with everything really, is balance.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're on the so you're on the coach.
Oh shit, yeah. Yeah, we're on the bus, and we get off in Ginzano, I believe, which was it was actually the nearest town. We'd managed to find our way there, but we still didn't know where the hell we were, and we were all like very thirsty at this point. So I'm like, right, okay, there's a shop there. We finally found a shop. I'm gonna go buy some water. Went in, bought some water, but the only water they had was like salted.
What?
Salted water. It was like soda water, but it was really salty, and we couldn't understand why. But it was just doing nothing. If anything, it was dehydrating us further. And Sam at this point, Sam Course, was just he was bright red from the sun and like the lack of water, and he was just like he was starting to, his eyes were starting to close. We were like, oh my god, he's gonna pass out. Like, this is bad. We need to get him somewhere with like actual water and like to chill out of the sun. So I think we did just end up calling the nearest taxi. It turns out we were only about a 40-minute walk away from the village, so we were like, fuck's sake. But in that heat, that was just not going to happen. So we all piled into this taxi, roll up at the villa, and basically it's this gorgeous, like, sprawling garden with like pear trees and tomato plants and stuff, and then this beautiful villa with like a Roman excavation underneath it.
Okay.
And this is just ours for the next like week and a half, and we're like, fuck nice. Yeah. So yeah, we all roll up there and get in, and the guy, the villa owner's like showing us around, and like you can just see Pilch and Dev's faces, because bearing in mind they needed to go to the toilet and have a poo about 2 hours before this.
Oh god.
Because it took us 3-4 hours to find this place.
I see.
Yeah. So they were like, you can see on their faces, they're just like, yeah, that's really interesting. Please fuck off. Like, and he leaves, and they both shoot into the 2 bathrooms.
Thank God there wasn't just one. They didn't have to do something. Sit on each other sort of situation.
I don't know, man. They're very comfortable with each other.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was that, and that was the nightmare of trying to find our way there. But it was really worth it. Like, the villa we stayed in was absolutely gorgeous, and there were 4 cats that lived on the property as well.
There's a lot of cats in a lot of the European countries like Italy and things like that. It's great.
Cats are great out there, because there are a lot of stray cats, but a lot of them are just like owned by people, and then the cats just wander off for like a week and then come back. Like, it's so much more free out there. I remember in Greece one time, this was about 2 years ago now. We went in November. We only went for a weekend. It was myself, Bradley went.
Oh,
this is when I went with
Bradley's one of my besties as well, just like recent stuff, and I'll be having him on the podcast at some point as well. Yeah. But yeah, we both love Brad. Everyone loves Bradley.
Bradley's safe. Bradley's just the biggest, cuddliest like teddy bear.
My mum describes him as a bear, like a cuddly bear.
He is a bear that has like really horrible dark jokes.
That's it, yeah. But only come out when he's with the right people. If he's not, if he's not with the right people, everyone just thinks he's innocent and cute.
Yeah.
And then
he comes home with us, and it's just like,
bam, power at the kisser. Yeah.
But yeah, so it was the trip I went on with Bradley, and it was just a little group of 4 of us, and we had a little apartment for the weekend, and it was very cute. But when we were walking up to the Acropolis, we found like more and more cats. We were really confused. Like, why are there so many cats here? But I'm talking like a dozen on each street. It's insane.
I think my mum told me when she went to Turkey it was like that.
Yeah, exactly. But then we started walking further, and we realised the higher up towards the Acropolis we get, the denser the population of cats on the street. So and we rounded a corner, and we started hearing music. We were like, what is this? So we walked around the corner, and it was just this guy, maybe 55, 56, just sat by himself playing the recorder with like a surrounding of cats. They're all staring at him, just like chilling out, lying down in the sun, but just listening to him play the recorder. And we dubbed him the Cat Whisperer.
I see, that's good.
Yeah, or the Pussy Player, I think was his alternate name. Yeah, and I've got photos of him on Facebook, and I went back about almost exactly a year later, like almost to the day, to Athens, and to work there for a month. And whilst I was wandering around by myself, I went up the same route that we chose to get up the side of the mountain.
Right.
And I walked past where we saw him, and he wasn't there. I was really disappointed.
He's a spectre who just travels around like all of the world, and just bringing cats.
He just pops up, and he's like a rare Pokemon. You gotta You got to choose your time.
Yeah, go throw a master ball at him. Try and capture this old man and take him home so you can just put him in your garden and just have all the cats in like Britain
This could
flock
work.
to you.
This could work.
That'd be good. Just do it. We'll go.
Brain him with a pokeball and steal his powers.
Yeah, the thing is, Pokeballs, I don't think they work in the real world. So I think if you just threw a Pokeball at him, it'd have to be like a really heavy metal sphere and just knock him out and then just drag him off. That'd work.
Yeah.
So, so do you think a lot of your traveling and stuff now, especially, is kind of like, because you didn't travel much when you were younger, you kind of had the tastes of it when you did the school trips, and now it's just like kind of, I can, so I will, sort of thing. Because like with me, I travelled a fair amount with my parents when I was younger, and then then Dad passed away, and then about a year or two before that, I kind of was a bit too old to go away with my parents generally, and then he got ill, so I was just like, go away with Mum, just the two of you, and then he passed, and then I just kind of moved out, and now it's just like I haven't really had the money to be able to go away a lot. I've been to Spain once with my mum and her fiance, and that was fine. And I went, and a few other people. It wasn't just me third wheeling. That would have been very strange. And then I went to Amsterdam with the guys a year and a half ago. But it's like I keep trying to save to go. Okay, I'm gonna travel around Europe. I'm gonna go to Norway, see the Northern Lights. I'm gonna go here and stuff. And then it's just like every time something happens. Like last year when I had was starting to get enough money and whatnot, $3,500 gone because my car blew up, and there's just nothing I could do about it.
Yeah,
I'd already spent about £600 on it before that, trying to get it fixed. And it got fixed, and then it messed up after like a month, and it's just kill me. And just wiped clean, and then I started to save again, and then I caught up, and now it's like I've been I left my job left my previous job and had like 6 weeks off, and I really needed it. I really wanted it, but I took money out of my savings to keep me going, which is what they're there for. Really, it's just brilliant to have that amount of time off. But now I'm going back to work, but it's like that's another dent out of my savings. It's just like every time I just want to go travelling. But you've been we're not going to say lucky. You've obviously worked really hard and managed to save up enough money. But when you first went away to Asia, or like what was the first time you went away for a decently long period of time, like more than just like a week or two?
Right. I will answer that in a moment, but this is the thing. The one of the biggest misconceptions about travel is that you need money.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I get all these people all of the time coming to me saying, "Oh, you travel? Yeah, that must be amazing. You must work so hard for your money, like you say." But and it's just no, because I mean, I do work hard, and I love my job. I'm a bartender, and it's just a really enjoyable profession. Yeah, I do work hard at my job, but I don't do it for the sake of earning money.
Yeah.
I know that at the end of the hard work there's going to be a paycheck, and obviously that does motivate me a bit more, but you don't need money to travel. This is the thing. Last year when I went away, I went for 3 months around Greece, Italy, Spain and France, and whilst I was there, I did work for a month, like out there. I was working as an au pair for a month. And I earned...
What an au pair is, because I didn't know when you first told me.
Oh, it's a nanny essentially. So it's somebody who looks after children, whilst like who lives with the family and looks after the children. And I did that for a month, and I earned €300 from that. And then
I assume they let you live there for free, and then
yes.
you just kind of live there free. They cook all your meals. You get a bit of downtime just to hang about and do what you want, and you get paid a bit.
Get a day a week off, and then the rest of the time working. And yeah, I lived there for free and free meals and stuff. And I travelled with them all over Greece as well, because it was the summer holidays at the time. So
okay, yeah.
The girls 6 and 8 years old, Anna and Stella, bless them. They obviously they wanted to go around and do stuff for their summer holidays, so I just went with them. And we went to places like the Epidaurus Theatre, and went across to some of the islands like Aegina and Hydra and Portos and stuff. And it was really cool. But yeah, so when I went away last year, I went to Greece and Italy and France and Spain, and I took with me the 300, obviously, that I earned whilst I was working away in Greece. That sort of covered stuff there, and then. When I actually went away, because I came home for a few weeks before I went off again.
Okay, right.
When I went off again, I took with me, I had £300 in my account. About 3 weeks after that, I got paid £500 from what I'd worked that month already. So which means I had £800.
Yeah.
And that lasted me the remaining 2 months that I was out there. In fucking Europe as well. And that's food, that's accommodation, that's sightseeing, because I saw a lot of places. That's travelling around on buses, on trains, everywhere, Like, you don't need the money for it. And then when I went away this year, I went to Asia for 3 months. and I took with me 1,200.
Okay.
And that covered both of my flights. So my flight out there, which was 340, I believe, and then my flight home, which was 370 or 400 or something.
Yeah, like 700-800-ish.
Yeah, total. And then everything else was just what I spent on like food, accommodation, etc. And it's like
the places in Asia you went, were they quite cheap as well?
Definitely, yeah. But this is the beauty.
Yeah,
this
because
is why
you can choose
don't
where you
need.
go.
Yeah, you don't need money to travel because you just have to choose the right places and do the right things with your money. So, yes, if you're staying in hotels all the time, if you're eating out at restaurants all the time, then yes, you're going to spend a lot more money. But if you're staying in hostels, if you're couch surfing like I was a lot of the time.
Yeah. I was going to say, with the couch surfing, did you use a website for that, or an app, or what sort of how do you go about doing that when you're in a foreign country?
Okay, so it depends which one you want to do. If you want to just have like a sofa in exchange for in exchange for you just sort of being there and talking to them, and
that's my alarm going off. How professional!
Excellent.
This is good, isn't it? Anyway, sorry, I do apologise for that. Sorry.
Yeah, if you wanna have just like spending time with people in exchange for a bed, then you can use something like couch surfing.
Right.
Couchsurfing.com. Which is a really good site. It's one of my favourites. I've actually they've got an app as well, which is really good. They've got a thing called Hangouts. So if you're ever in a city, couch surfing on the app, staying with somebody, and then you feel like meeting up with somebody else who's in the city and also a traveller, you can just go on the app and say, "Oh,
that's amazing." Location. That could be like, obviously you go to a certain place and you're like, "Oh, I've got 6 or 7 hours to kill. Exactly. Oh, there's a cool museum here, but there's also a couple of cool bars or whatever. I'll just see what's about, see who's about, see if there's anyone who wants just someone to walk around a museum with, or see someone who wants to drink with." That's exactly
what it's for, which is that's brilliant. Amazing. Yeah. So there's something like that, but then there's also stuff like HelpX and Woofing. Woofing is the most popular one. So
Woofing.
Woofing, yeah.
Sounds like a dogging.
Yeah. It's WWOOF. It's Worldwide Organic Organization Farm or something. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's basically you work on their land in exchange for accommodation and food.
Yeah.
Which is really popular. Like loads of people.
It's good when your partner pass through and stuff, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. But usually the placements are somewhere between a week and a month.
Yeah.
Some places like you to stay longer. Some places only want you for a few days. But you know, it all varies. But
that's really interesting.
I way prefer helpx.net.
Right.
Because it's a lot more personal. So it's not just like places that have been having volunteers for years and stuff, you know, like they're very, very professional and like business like about it. HelpX is nice because it puts you in contact with just random farm owners in the middle of fucking nowhere. Like they're just like, hey, so we could use some extra help and we want to learn a bit more English. Do you want to just come and like work for maybe 4 or 5 hours a day on the farm, and you get a day or two off a week, and then in exchange you just live with us and like talk to us and shit, and that's an actual thing you can do, and I've done that a couple of times.
That's crazy, yeah.
Really enjoyable.
It's the beauty of the internet as well. It's not only connecting people who can't travel and like talk across the globe. It's also like even when you get there, because you've got basically a computer in your pocket. As long as you've got a degree of signal, or you go to certain like if they have Wi-Fi spots, things like that. There's just like you can just get into contact with anyone, you know, especially with all this sort of modern technology. It's just phenomenal. It's just the degrees of how innovative it is and things like that. It's crazy. It's just, where's it going to go from here? So often I think about.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's a crazy place, man. Technology's come very far.
It's sealed the gaps I find in certain communication between races, you know, and it's just widened people's knowledge so much. Yeah. Like it's one of the things that a lot of people say now. You don't really need zoos as much because zoos were the only way most people could see certain animals, and obviously most of the animals I've seen in the zoo I haven't seen elsewhere. But it's like now with the internet we can just see videos of animals all the time. You know, you watch Planet Earth. I know that's that didn't need the internet for it or anything like that. But you know, you have things like that online. If I want to just see what does a sloth look like, I literally Google sloth and like I watch 10 hours of video footage of baby sloths or normal sloths or anything.
But none of that compares to the beauty of seeing it in real life, though.
Well,
this is why you should go travelling, man.
Well, that's the thing with travelling, because seeing animals and stuff is cool. Seeing in real life is better. But like I've done a few things. Like I climbed Snowdon, you know, which was really, really amazing. And it's like I've taken some photos. I even took a video up there, and everyone's like, "Yeah, that's really cool." But it is one of those things where it looks cool, but you don't know till you're there. And it's a lot of things in life are about you can get a general idea of stuff from looking at it on like video wise or something like that, but actually being there and living it is a whole another kettle of fish.
Definitely.
It's just that's one of the things that interests me so much about traveling, because all the different cultures and stuff. Starting European, because I haven't been out of Europe in my life, but I've been to quite a few places in Europe. But it's like seeing the variance in cultures there, and then slowly kind of, once I've kind of seen of what I want to see there, I want to try and make it my life goal to see the wonders of the world, man-made and natural. So, I'd love to see the Taj Mahal, which is obviously in Asia, but I'd also love to see, Mount Rushmore in America, but I'd also love to see Niagara Falls. It's all these sorts of, that's kind of my just kind of tick box thing for it all. But with me, what hindered me is because I moved out when I was 20. Then that was when my job, that was only 6 months after my job started paying like a full wage, because I was an apprentice before that. So with me, it's just been, I do want to travel, and I do want to do that, but I haven't, I've unfortunately not been in the circumstance where I can take a month or two off work. Like in the jobs I've been in, I haven't been able to do that. I mean, if I worked for a job for a very long period of time, and I gave them a fair bit of warning, maybe I could organise something like that. But where I haven't had even the grand or so to do it, I haven't quite had that money yet to do it. So it's almost one of those things of saying to people, like, if you can, you really should. I mean, I'm going to eventually. It's not like, I'm 23 and I can't afford it now, so I'm never going to travel. Obviously, it's just like, for this moment in time, I'm just not going to.
But there's the issue, man, because the amount of people I know who are now in sort of closing in on their 30s, early, like even in their 30s now, that say, I told myself when I was in my early 20s that I was going to travel, and then that just never happened because of this, and this, and it's like, but that's not an actual reason. That's just
it's an excuse.
It is an excuse. But it's your subconscious mind saying, I'm not quite ready for this yet, so I'm not going to put the effort in.
Well, with me personally, I couldn't travel alone. I've come to terms with that. I know you can meet people out there, but that's just not me. Me traveling alone is not something I can invest amount of time and money in. It's just like, even having 3 weeks off at work, like I'm starting a new job in a couple of days, so it's like I wouldn't just immediately be able to have loads of time off for at least a few months before I get used to the job, But then once I've done that, then I am planning on travelling. I do keep saying that in my life, but I'm lucky enough where this is kind of unfortunately giving me more excuse, but I have at least thus far. It's not like a clean slate sort of thing. Not. I was fortunate enough to go, as I went to a fair amount of places in Europe. There's only a few more places in Europe I want to go, and then I can kind of branch out a bit more. Obviously, the further you go, often the more money flights cost. It depends. So Asia, I haven't looked into Asia very much at all, to be honest, and a lot of it does intrigue me. But it's like if I went to China or Hong Kong or something, I haven't looked into it enough to know what I look for when I'm there.
That's fair.
Yeah. So when you went to Asia and stuff, where'd you go then? Where was
we flew into Bangkok.
And how long were you in Asia for the first time you went there?
I was there for about 3 months total.
Okay. How long ago was this? Was 2 years ago?
The first time I went to Asia was this year.
Oh, you said that earlier, didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, what time was it this year?
I left in April.
Okay.
Wait, no, was it 3? No, it was 2 months this time. Yeah, 2 months. But
yeah, because I picked you up from the airport, didn't I? Remember that.
Yeah.
But had a chat similar to this.
This swell guy came all the way up to fucking Heathrow.
I think it was Heathrow. Yeah.
Heathrow to get me. Oh, we had a nice little chat on the way home.
That was it. It kind of sparked. It's weird. The last few months of my life have just all been. Well, I kind of had the vague idea maybe I should start a podcast or not, and then it's just moments in my life have literally been almost like I'm not a very spiritual man, but there are certain points in life where it just kind of it feels like everything is telling you something, And I'm not saying that this podcast is going to explode and become the greatest podcast ever, even though it is already. But I just had the idea, and then I spoke to a few people about this or that, and then I had that talk with you, and it was just like it was a 2 hour drive, and we stopped at McDonald's as well because you were like craving one.
I really wanted McDonald's breakfast. I flew into Heathrow and it was like 6 a.m. and Mike and I had already agreed that he was going to come pick me up at like sort of 8-9ish, I think. Which was fine. I was happy to wait for a little while, and I just sort of chilled around.
It's about 2 hours from me.
But then it was closing in on 10 o'clock, and I was like, McDonald's stopped serving breakfast at 10:30. Where is he? And he just couldn't find me. He couldn't find me in the car park, and I couldn't see him anywhere.
It's because it's like a 3-layer multi-story, but you can only enter it from like one side, and it goes straight up to the top, and then you go round, and it goes straight to the bottom. I think you were in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, I was outside the
everything
airport.
looked the same as well. And it was just the whole area was called this one terminal.
Yeah. He's just like, oh, I'm by the purple car, and I'm like, I can see a purple car. You're nowhere near it, man. But yeah, so he came there, and we missed it by like what 2 minutes.
It was something silly. Yeah.
It was so upsetting.
But you did manage to have a quite hefty McDonald's.
Oh, it was delicious. I had chicken strips and a legend meal and. Oh.
Yeah, it was good. We were just chatting in there as well for like 25 minutes or so between the mouthfuls of terrible food, and it was just like hearing your stories being so intriguing, and I was just like, not only is this really cool, and I just want to hear more of it, but also other people I think should hear it as well. But it's also like with a podcast, there's certain people I know who kind of like you, where if I suppose I could do it in theory to certain people, but if I just called you up and said, hey, can you just come over and we just talk about stuff just for 2 hours and nothing else, that sounds cool, but often it's like, because it's nothing specific, often it's like, I'm kind of busy, there's got other stuff to do, that sort of thing. But when it's for a podcast, it means I can choose to have, if someone wants to as well, obviously, have a conversation with someone, which I've always kind of wanted to have with certain people about really in-depth things about like mental illness, about their life, all these sorts of other things that are really interesting to me. But certain people, I often just meet them at parties. Like with you, I mean, we've only hung out about probably 5 or 6 times, I imagine, outside of
more than
group
that,
situations.
Oh, outside of group situations, yeah, probably 5 or 6.
Yeah, because inside group situations it's probably 20, 30, maybe 40.
Yeah.
You know, it was just every party I had, you were there relatively. You'd occasionally pop over when there was just like a smaller group and stuff.
Yeah.
And when we went out to town and whatnot. But just the two of us. I mean, we've known each other, what? I think, have I known you since you were 15, I think?
14, I think.
14?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so that was 6 years ago. So yeah, I was 17.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been 6 years and we've hung out like once a year basically.
Yeah,
which kind of
much.
has been that. Because
Yeah.
like, what was it? I remember when I was at Burgess Road, you came over and watched Girl with Them Dragon Tattoo, and then we
Which
just didn't
is
see each other for like a
amazing
year apart
Yeah,
from
pretty
the
much.
occasional...
I don't think we really talked either. We just
It's
didn't
just
really
one of those
converse.
things.
Yeah.
There's quite a few mates of mine that happens with,
Yeah,
though.
it's an adult relationship, man.
Yeah.
It's adult friendships. This is one thing that a lot of people don't realize when they leave school and then leave college as well.
Especially
when you come into the real world and you have real adult friends, you don't see each other and you
Not
don't
every
talk.
time.
You don't ever talk, and that's okay because when you do meet up and you do chat, shit like this happens.
Exactly.
You get
You
along
get
really
a nice-
well,
the
and
thing
you
is,
get that vibe. And the
also, you don't have
connection.
time. All the people, there's loads of people I know who I love chatting to and stuff, but it's like I don't have enough time in the day, even if I'm off work, to actually be able to communicate with. I imagine there's about 20 people that I'd say are good friends of mine that, or at least are better than acquaintances, just friends who I like hanging out with, that I just don't see that often and obviously don't talk to on Facebook and stuff. If I was talking to everyone once a week as a recap of their life, Jesus Christ, I just won't have time to do anything, you know? And it's just like, it does the beauty of it. There's also certain things where it's just like, there are certain relationships where obviously you just don't need to see each other all the time.
Yeah,
it's just
true.
It's not a necessary need for it, you know? Not necessarily with you and I, because you and I have a crossover a lot in common with that appreciation for music and ideas and movies and that sort of jazz.
Got a lot of shit to talk about.
Exactly, but it's like, you know, with certain people I'm friends with, even a good example is like my mum. You know, I love my mum to bits, but we don't have everything in common. So when we meet up, you know,
It's like a stranger to me.
we meet up like I don't know, every couple of weeks, maybe once a month, and we just have a nice chat for a couple of hours, catch up, and that's it. But if trying to talk to her every single day of every single thing I do all the time, she's not interested enough. She isn't interested in most of the things I'm into, and vice versa. And there's certain friends of mine who aren't into the same music, aren't into movies, aren't into this, aren't into that, and it's fine because then when you meet up, you've got 2 months to condense into a couple of hours, and it's really organic.
Yeah.
There's just loads to talk about. But otherwise, you can get stretched out.
Yeah. See, I don't have that problem with my mum because I don't know where she is.
Nice.
Oh, ouch.
That's it. Burn. Self-burn.
Ouch.
you.
Self-burn, those are rare.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, so we're talking about Asia and stuff, and you're talking about the joys of travelling, obviously how it doesn't cost that much.
Yeah.
So when you went to Asia, it was 2 months, correct, this year?
Yep.
Right, so where'd you start out?
Started in Bangkok. We flew into Bangkok and, I say we flew into Bangkok. We flew into Mumbai, like, for a stopover and then to Bangkok, and we had 23 fucking hours to wait in the airport in Mumbai.
Oh, man, that's so much time.
Yeah, we couldn't leave the airport because the moment you go airside, you have to pay for a visa. No, the moment you go landside, you have to pay for a visa. So we were staying airside for 23 hours. We managed to find a hotel.
God.
And Ryan, bless his heart, paid 90 quid for Jeremy, myself and him to go into this hotel room, and there were 2 double beds in this room, and we just pushed them together
biggest orgy
and
ever.
crashed out for 12 hours straight.
That's pretty good though. At least you guys could do that sort of thing. Like,
we had a real nice connection.
When we were in Amsterdam, the flight was at a certain time. Like we didn't want to. It was at like I think it was like 4 or 6 in the evening or something like that. On the last day, we were there for like 4 days or something, and we were like, we went to the dungeons in the day, but then it was like you have to be there at least 2 hours before, this sort of thing. And so we were kind of, it's about 12ish, and all of us had eaten, and we were kind of like, we don't want to smoke or anything like that, or you need space kick and then go on a plane or whatever, you know, don't want to be high or anything on an airplane or something. So it's like, you know, what do we do? So we end up just kind of thinking, okay, we'll just go to the airport. I'm sure there's loads of stuff there. There wasn't loads of stuff there. Literally, there was like a couple of cafes and a couple of shops, nothing else. And the thing is, we'd got, from Southampton Central, you get a train to the airport, so it's quite far, and I don't think there was that much around the airport. I might be mistaken. We were just in the airport for like 2 hours, and it just felt like torture. And that was only 2 hours. That's it.
That's
rookie.
feeble.
Well, the thing is, I've been to big airports before, you know, and having a few hours is fine. But it was kind of like we were all at the end of the holiday-ish. You know, we'd been smoking a lot all the entire thing, so it was kind of like we were all knackered and that sort of thing. So it was like, you know, we do that, and then we've had such an exciting thing, and then it's like, oh, we have to come home, and you kind of get the holiday blues. And you can, with festivals. Have you been to many music festivals?
Not big ones, no.
Well, it's like when you go there, the worst day is the last day. Like if you're there till Monday, then you get Sunday night as well. But you know you've got to kind of wrap things up. And then when you go to bed on the Sunday night, it's like, oh man, it's gonna suck, because you wake up the next morning and all it is just shit. It's literally like I have to get up in my tent. I've probably got back pain because I've been there for days. I'm malnourished because all I've eaten is just like fried food constantly, and like crisps and chocolate bars. Just like got an Asda trolley full of just rubbish for me just to indulge in. I've been drinking constantly over the entire weekend and stuff like that. So it's just like, what happens is that I've lost my train of thought for a moment. Oh yeah, that was it. Just the last day, what happens is everything hits you, and you're like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to pack up my tent. I don't want to have to drive for X amount of time from the festival and stuff. I just feel knackered. So on the last day of the holiday, we were like that a bit, but for the airport. But it was just 2 hours. It was feeble, and it was pathetic, to be honest. With being that, we were just like sat around not really doing anything. We killed about an hour, but the last hour we just can't go out and do something because if we get called to the gate or whatever. But 23 hours, that's next level stuff.
It was fucking intense, man. Like I say, we just crashed for 12 hours, and then I went for a wander, and whilst I was in the food court area, I bumped into this guy. Well, I say I bumped into him. He was sat alone at a table minding his own business, and me being me, saw his backpack, went, oh, a traveller, and just sat down and said, hey, I'm TJ. And
well, I said, all you travellers out there, if you get like a short, I think you've been described as Tinkerbell almost.
Punk
sort of thing.
Tinkerbell,
that's it. Yeah. Like a punk Tinkerbell with a few like little tattoos on her arms and back and stuff like that. You know, short hair, normally of a random different colour. I think it changes with her mood, because every time I see her, it's a different colour.
Pretty much.
But like that, with clothes that are normally baggy and too big for her. You see her with a bright smile and some sort of different facial piercing. It changes every time I see you as well. You've got a septum at the moment. You know, just a random facial piercing somewhere. Bubbly come up to you and start talking to you in this voice that you can hear. Your voice is like the voice of like a not stern, but like a strong 35-year-old woman.
Seriously?
You've got that sort of that lowness to it. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I think that when you become 30, you'll just sound like a.
Hello.
I was gonna say like a Debbie, like one of those mums,
Debbie.
the short-haired mums
God.
who just complain about everything.
Oh,
and like, I want to see the
I
manager.
want to see your manager.
We got it exactly. Right.
I'm not going to be that woman ever.
I think you will. Yeah, you already are. No,
Screw you.
Knowing you'll never. I'm more likely to be that woman than you are.
Definitely.
Right, we're just going to pause it just for a second because Tisha being a wuss needs a wee, and unfortunately I've actually needed one for about half an hour. But I was being professional. I've been drinking so much water. I've been professional.
I am 5'3". I have a tiny bladder. Okay.
So yeah, we're going to pause it for now. We'll come back in a minute and talk more about the Asian stuff. So yeah, and we're back again. So just to recap, TJ was about to start a story about when she went off to Asia earlier in this year. I think you said it was April, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, for 2 months, and you went to Bangkok.
Yep. First of all.
Okay. Right. So you decided to go there, and you said, how'd you get over there again? Sorry.
We flew. We had a 23-hour wait in Mumbai airport.
Yep. Good old airport waiting.
Bless.
Cool. So once you'd waited at the airport, and you'd what was it then after the 23 hours? What did you do?
Then we. When we first got to Bangkok, we went straight in from outside the airport. We went straight into the city centre because it was morning, obviously.
Okay.
and we walked from the airport into the centre of Bangkok, and we were debating what to do. But bearing in mind, we hadn't booked a hostel.
Mm-hmm.
We hadn't booked anything. We'd literally just rocked up in Bangkok, ready to go travelling for however fucking long we wanted.
Yeah.
And while we were there, we bumped into this random guy who was just like at work, and we were cutting through the building.
Mm-hmm.
And we got chatting to him, and he was like, "Oh, so you're going to be traveling around Thailand for the next however long?" We were like, "Yeah." And he was like,
"Yeah.
Are you aware of Songkran?" And we were like,
"What? Sorry."
Songkran.
Songkran.
Songkran, yeah.
How do you spell that?
Songkran.
Okay, so what's that then?
It's the New Year festival. It's a water festival. So they
okay.
It's obviously it probably started out with some sort of like blessing thing with water, and it's progressed into essentially I think it's 14 countries in Southeast Asia. They all celebrate Songkran at the same time, and it's just a 14 country wide water fight. And when I say that, I mean like the entire all of the cities just become a mess of everybody throwing water all day long, and it's a horrendous waste. But to be fair, the water out there is really disgustingly dirty anyway. We weren't allowed to drink the tap water because we could possibly die. So we went into Bangkok, and this guy told us about Songkran, and we were like, oh, okay, fair enough. And he was like, yeah, so the buses and the trains aren't going to be running the same ways because it's Songkran. We were like, oh,
I was
shit.
just to say, with Songkran, do you have any idea of the origins of that or anything like that? Do you look that up, or do you find anything else about that?
No, I haven't actually looked up the origins of it. It's
a mystery. So,
yeah.
So I'll look that up then quickly.
Yeah.
But sorry, yeah, it was called. How would you spell that?
Songkran. Songkran.
Songkran 2018. Found it.
Yeah.
Okay, so continue. Yeah, I'm just gonna look up.
Yeah. So we went to a travel agency to just ask them about what sort of buses and stuff we'd be able to book, because we wanted to go up to Chiang Mai, and the lady that we spoke to, we only wanted a bit of advice, but she ended up planning out I think about 2 weeks worth of travel around Thailand, where we stopped in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you have to pay her anything, or did she just?
Yeah, of course we had to pay. Look, she booked it all for us. This is the thing. She gave us the plan, and we were like, "That's a really sick plan." And then she gave us the option of booking with them, and we were like, "Yeah, sure." It cost us just over 11,000 baht, which was about 270 quid.
Okay. I just want to say the Thai is a New Year's Day. It's 13th of April every year, but the holiday period is 14th and 15th of April as well.
It's actually 6 days.
Okay.
Usually 6 days.
Okay, fair enough. Well, it's it just says here it's a New Year's festival, so that's why I imagine the water thing. It says it's basically to do with change. It means like transformation or change. It's Sanskrit word literally is astrological passage. So that's nice. I imagine water is some sort of almost cleansing or something else.
It is out there, yeah. Water weighs heavily on their imagery and their tradition, their cultures. So
that's really interesting. Yeah, so Songkran, if anyone wants to look that up.
Yeah. So we ended up booking with them, and they booked it all for us. And we went, stayed a day in Ayutthaya, which is about an hour's drive north from Bangkok.
Okay.
And Ayutthaya is really cool because it's just full of temples. When I say full, I mean you've got, I think, 30, like 30 temples in Ayutthaya.
What religion is that? Is that Hindu?
It's Buddhism.
It's Buddhism, okay.
Yes. Most Thai people you come into contact with were either raised on or are still Buddhist.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
So it's like it's that sort of place. It's just full of temples, and we spent some time there. Well, we spent a day and a half there, and then we went up north to Chiang Mai for Songkran. And honestly, if there's one thing that people want to experience in Southeast Asia, it's got to be Songkran in Chiang Mai, because basically you've got the whole river running through the center. I believe it's the River Kwai, actually. It might be. I could be wrong, but yeah. So there's a river that runs through the center, and it's just brown sludge. Basically, the water's disgusting, but everybody's using the river water, sorry, and they're using like ice cold buckets of water that they've brought with them into the in their cars, and they're just like throwing it out as they drive past. They're just throwing it at people. And obviously, it's full of locals and travelers as well, and people that are just backpacking or on holiday or whatever. And everybody's just having an amazing time throwing water at each other all day long, and then you go to bed, and then it starts again the next day.
Oh wow, it's mad.
It's incredible place. Chiang Mai itself is actually just stunning. Like there's quite a few temples in the city itself that are like almost converted into like backpacker art places. So like there are temples, and then there'll be a community there of monks and like expats and stuff that design murals together and things like that, and it's all really, really chill. It's a very nice city. And there's some elephant sanctuaries nearby, which is excellent, because a very big problem in Thailand is the mistreatment of elephants, and there's this thing called champing, which is essentially when an elephant is born into tourism, the tamers, if you will, the trainers of the elephants, they get a long bamboo stick with a metal spike on the end, and they just hit the elephants with them, back them into a corner, and just hit them until they submiss.
Right.
And it's like, it's disgusting. It's absolutely barbaric. But there are a few sanctuaries in Thailand, and you really need to be careful for which ones you go to, because some of them are genuine, like they actually care for the elephants, and they put the elephants' well-being first. But so many of them are just directed towards tourists that want to come and ride them and take selfies with them, you know.
Yeah.
Like when we were in Ayutthaya, we walked past one of them. We saw a few elephants beforehand, and I'd never seen an elephant in real life before, so I was losing my shit. I was absolutely stunned by these magnificent beasts.
I might have done the zoo once, but I can't really remember.
Yeah.
But
like these were just elephants walking down the street,
yeah.
walking down the middle of the road, just like people riding them, and I was losing my shit because it was incredible. But then after that sort of like subsided, and after I settled, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is horrible.
Well, elephants are one of the smartest animals I think on the planet. They've got insane memories. Their intelligence, like a lot of people. There's a lot of things with our society. One of the issues is that obviously I love cats and dogs. I think I love all animals, including insects and things like that. I just hate mosquitoes. I'll kill them all if I can. But apart from mosquitoes, really, and I'm not a fan of hornets or wasps, to be honest. Anything else, I'm happy with. You know, I like everything like that. But it's like, obviously, I am not a vegetarian or anything, so I used to eat bacon. But pigs are as smart as dogs. Like in most cases, they're incredibly intelligent animals. And it's things like, it's that sort of thing, and it just makes me question it a lot. And you go to other cultures and stuff, and certain places they eat dog or cat because they have like wild dogs and wild cats, and they're just like,
pretty sure I ate dog in Vietnam.
The thing is, I would be up for trying relatively anything. You know, I've said this before, this is going to weird some people out, but I would probably try human flesh.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, you know, I don't know how you'd somehow make sure that someone had died naturally or they were still alive and they give it. Is that weird? I don't know. If you go to a restaurant, meet some dude and he just like slices a bit off his arm for you on a plate and cooks it in front of you, it's like, that's really, really weird. I don't know if I could be a handle of that, but I think if
there
some
are
sort
people who do that. There are people who have like channels online, like channels of contact, wherein they're like, yeah, so I'm gonna cut off my arm and sell it to this guy, and he's going to cook a dinner, and then the guy's like selling tickets for people to come and have dinner and just eat some human.
It's weird. But it's one of those things where cannibalism is such a weird thing, isn't it? Because it's like, it's incredibly taboo, but it's like, but we do it to animals, so it's like, what makes us worth it more than animals? I suppose it's the idea of like killing humans, or if you went down that road, you'd have, imagine factory farm humans that are just born into, because that's like a really dark sci-fi dystopian future film. But, you know, I don't know. Human history has had a lot of dark parts. And I'd be surprised if from where we are now that it would go down that road. But I think if you had enough dark turns and enough things happening, maybe it could go down that road. You know, I don't think it's very likely. I think it's incredibly unlikely. But I wouldn't say it's impossible. That's the weird thing. With all the atrocities that people have committed, you know, imagine if the rich, somehow the austerity increased and the rich became richer and all this sorts of other stuff, and then they do it in secret or something.
See, there's actually whilst I was studying film for my A levels, I did a lot of research outside of the classroom as well into Mexico, because we were studying Mexican cinema.
Okay. Do you like Danny Trejo, the actor? He's Machete. Oh no, you don't know who Machete is.
No, it's
Machete. Alright, have you seen Spy Kids?
yes.
You
No,
know,
I do know. I know exactly.
Uncle Machete.
Yeah, I know exactly
He's
who
actually
you're talking about.
he's in he's got his own show.
Yeah, he's a good actor, but I mean he's
just the Mexican actor. I just want to point out.
exactly. Well, no, he's one of the two Mexican actors.
Okay, well, there's Michael Pena as well. He's been in quite a few films recently as well. Obviously, this is just a joke. I want to clarify. I don't think there's only two Mexican actors on the whole world, and it's Michael Pena and yes, Michelle Rodriguez as well. It's like there's those three. That's it. There's no more than those three.
But yeah, so in Mexico, they actually have a very heavy problem with cannibalism.
Really?
People don't know this, but in places like Mexico City,
is that because of the drug war and stuff making everyone poor and that sort of thing, or is it?
Yeah,
the gang violence.
Sort of. Not to be honest, not even that. It's Mexico itself is a very religious place, but there are people who sacrifice their lives to the more base sort of spirituality in religion.
Okay.
And there's actually there's a wonderful film. It's called Somos lo que hay, I think. Somos lo que hay, and it's about a family living in Mexico City in the slums in the sort of slum suburb areas of Mexico City, and the family is sort of under a curse, and if they don't consume human flesh, then that curse will like claim them. That's their belief. And the film opens up with a scene of the father dying out of nowhere. The camera follows him down the street, and then out of nowhere he just collapses and dies and has a seizure, and it's strange. You're like, obviously there's some things happened paranormal related, and the film dives into that, and the film shows the rest of the family trying to find a way to sort out this curse and sort out their lives without their father around. And it is an excellent film. It's I can't remember the actors' names in it now, but it is very excellent. And it's not like the typical Mexican film, like if like Amores Perros and Y Tu Mama Tambien, which have people like Gael Garcia Bernal and Diego Luna and people like that. You know, they're very, very well known Mexican actors.
Diego Luna, I know of him, but obviously that's in Star Wars. Yeah, and obviously the massive Star Wars buff. Yeah. So
he's a very, very popular Mexican actor. But there's this is almost like an artsy film. I mean, all Mexican cinema is very artsy, modern Mexican cinema, because of the sort of cinematic Mexican revolution that happened in the 90s, where they were essentially like, hey, fuck Hollywood, we're gonna do our own thing, and then started making these incredible films.
France have done something not dissimilar to that
as
well. They've gone very much, they're much more
thing.
European artsy sort of route. There's quite a few French directors who've been making a few films over here. There's one, I think it's Michel Gondry, I believe he's French, but there's another one I believe he was a fashion designer, and he made a film recently called The Neon Demon. It was very, very peculiar and artsy. It's all about the fashion industry and stuff.
Hasn't got Cara Delevingne in it?
No, it hasn't got her in it. It's got who's the one in the Hunger Games who's obviously it's not Jennifer Lawrence. It's one of the other main ones she seems to like kind of hate Katniss at the start, but she ends up being.
Which film?
Oh Christ! She's in all of them. She's in the first one, and then she's also in.
She's in all of them.
She's not in the Hunger Games arena in the first one. She just knows she's one of the, or maybe she's just in the second one. She's one of the champions. She's quite.
Joanna.
I think it is Joanna.
Oh, what's her name? What's the actress's name? Shit.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
But she's in the film called The Neon Demon. There's a couple of other actresses that I can't fully remember. Okay. It's really, I didn't enjoy it that much, to be honest, because I think it felt like it dragged a little bit, and it felt like there was a lot of artsiness going on, and the payoff for me, I'm not going to spoil it or anything, but the payoff for me wasn't worth it for me necessarily. But it was a very well made film in an interesting way. You know, it's worth a watch if you're into really artsy films. It's kind of like, you know, have you seen Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson?
No, I haven't, but I've seen trailers.
It's really interesting. She gets nude in that, so any real big Scarlett
Johansson
fans?
I'll be right back in about 2 hours.
It's I saw that at Harbour Lights at the little indie cinema down Southampton, and me and Callum went there and saw that, and it was good. But there's so little dialogue in that film. Like, a lot of people say Dunkirk hasn't got a lot of dialogue in, and it hasn't. It's a great movie as well. But this film, Under the Skin, it must be about a page of the whole film. I think it's only an hour and a half, maybe it's 2 hours, but there's very, very little dialogue at all in it, and it's really peculiar. I don't want to spoil the premise or anything because it's kind of a mystery as it goes on, but it's like, it's really interesting, but I wouldn't watch it again. You know, there's certain films which they're very interesting to watch as a piece of cinema, like a piece of art almost, more than like a standard movie, you know?
Ex Machina's like that as well.
Well, Ex Machina I absolutely adore. It's one of my favourite films ever. I've actually got a steelbook down there of Ex Machina, French one, funnily enough, because we're talking about French cinema. It's obviously French, but the English steelbook was sold out, and I bought that, and now they've gone, and now there are English steelbooks, which is annoying, but whatever. It's that's one of my favourite films. I love Oscar Isaac in that. That's a film, if anyone is interested in anything psychological or sci-fi or anything to do with artificial intelligence, that is an absolutely fantastic film. It's
Definitely.
quite, I think it's only about an hour and a half long, so it's not too long in any way, shape or form. It brings up some really interesting moral questions to do with AI, and I don't know a person who's seen it who doesn't think it's amazing. I can't, if you are into that sort of thing and you watch that film and you don't like it, I really don't understand why what you're into. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those films where in that genre it's just spot on, so I highly recommend that. But yeah, there's a lot of artsy films. There's like Let the Right One In.
I Let the Right One In is a very good film.
That's cool. I haven't seen Let Me In, which is the American one, which is apparently really good as well. Apparently, everyone who's seen both of them say they're both really good. They're just very different. It's like a different take on the same sort of thing.
I'd say one of the most artistic like horror films I've seen is probably The Witch.
I heard about that. I haven't seen that.
I saw it
my
at
mate
the
Alex-
BFI Film Festival. Actually, I went up to London to see the premiere, and it's
Next time we go to a film festival, give me a shout.
yes,
I'll
yeah, we'll
drive.
go up together.
Yeah, go see those indie films and stuff.
It is an excellent film. It's so it's set New England. It's sort of Puritan like era. There's a village of people, and they kick one family out for one reason or another, and then the film follows that family living on the outskirts by the woods. And there's like you know the folk tales, like, oh, there's a witch in the woods. You know, turns out there actually isn't a witch in this woods, but they there's a very
don't really spoilers. Just to be careful.
no. What I'm saying is just what's in the trailer.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not saying.
Yeah.
I don't want to clarify just to be sure.
Yeah, no,
I'm
no,
very sensitive to spoilers.
I'm good with this. Don't worry.
That's cool.
There's a scene, for example, where the eldest teenage daughter is looking after the child, the baby.
Yeah.
And she's playing peekaboo, and he's sat on the blanket beneath her, and she's playing peekaboo, and she closes her eyes, and then when she opens them, he's not there.
I see. Okay.
And the film sort of goes from there, and it's very artistically shot. The some of the cinematography in the film is actually stunning as well. It's the lighting's very clever. The way they've set up shots to sort of bring in other characters, and then the sort of bigger questions of the film itself. It raises quite a few, especially by the end of the film as well. And those of you that have seen it will know what I mean. It sort of brings you into a world that you wouldn't necessarily have from sort of bigger directors, and
that's the interesting thing with some of the smaller directors. You can really get their own take on things, because that's a lot of when you become a bigger director, like take Edgar Wright for example. I love Edgar Wright. He obviously made the Cornetto trilogy with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. So Short of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and at World's End for those who aren't as informed. And he also made Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is one of my all-time favourite films. Absolutely adore that film. And he also recently made Baby Driver, which is a really, really cool film. The way it's shot is amazing.
I told myself I was going to go see that, and
really
I never
good.
did.
It's really good. Yeah, it's not as good as I was hoping, unfortunately, but it is still a really good film.
Okay.
But that's because I was hoping so high, because obviously Scott Pilgrim and Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz are some of my favourite films.
Yeah.
But he produced Ant-Man, but he was originally going to direct it. But because Disney and Marvel wanted it to go in a certain direction, a bit less Edgar Wright-esque, he got stifled a bit. So he stepped down as director, or they told him to step down as director or whatever, and then he just became a producer. And certain parts, have you seen that film, Ant-Man?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. You know, like, for example, for people who've seen the film, it's in the trailer, there's, like, Ant-Man, and he's having a fight with someone, and, like, there's a Thomas Tank Engine train that comes.
Yeah.
And it's, like, really, like, dun, 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 and it's, like, really intense. It's, like, you see this train, and then it just zooms out, and it just hits them and just falls straight off. It's, like, this little plastic train.
Yeah.
And that's just humorous and funny little subtleties like that. And that's what he's known for a lot. And you see little bits of it in Ant-Man, but because of that film industry, and because the Disney Marvel conglomerate superhero thing, you know, it's the super machine, it's, they said he couldn't do that. So you do get certain directors who, when they go to Hollywood, because they can't, if they don't make like an indie film or something, they often can't do everything they want to do. But Ex Machina was written and directed by Alex Garland, so he kind of had or control over it. And I don't know if he self-funded it, because obviously it's studio and stuff, so it's not fully indie, like ridiculously, but it's definitely not a Hollywood blockbuster sort of thing.
If we don't stop talking about film now, we're never going to stop.
I think I know. I was just thinking we just waffle on about movies the entire time.
I mean, that could work as well, but I think that's a completely different subject for the
That's going to have to
podcast.
be a future one. I think after you've gone travelling, you've come back, we'll have another travel episode, and then I'll just have to make sure you don't go away again, and then we'll have a film one. I'm going to have a couple other film ones with my mate Alex Hart as well, I think.
Yeah. Oh, we could get a little group of us in.
I think Alex moving to Wales soon. I'm actually recording a thing with him tomorrow, I think, but he's going to be talking about his school beneath the pines, his forest schools, which will be in a later episode, but it won't be released like tomorrow. Whoever's listening to this now, I think I'm going to leave it a week or two in advance. I don't know. So that's the end of part 1. Thanks for tuning in, guys. The next episode will be out next week. Obviously, at the end there, we just got into a little tangent about films and stuff. But in the next one, we get back on track and we continue talking about TJ's travels and whatnot. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, subscribe in the podcast app or on SoundCloud. You can follow us. Anything like that. I realise I keep saying us all the time. That's just me. Maybe it's just that nice little community feeling of the genuine chit chat. I don't know. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. The next one will be out next week. So speak to then.